Welcome, my students. Welcome to this week's little tutorial. And this one will be all about shading. Shading is very important. It's a fundamental skill that can bring depth, dimension, and realism to your artwork. So, we'll explore these 3 essential tips to help you take your shading skills to the next level. First would be values to these. About values refer to the range of lightness and darkness in your artwork. To create some kind of realistic shading, you must have a strong grasp of how it works. So let's begin. First, we set our layer to multiply and then we fill it with white. This way, we can shade without any problems on our characters. We'll also start by creating kind of a gradient from light to dark. You'll always do that. And experimenting with different pencil brushes. There are all kinds of brushes. You can get mine for free in my Gumroad. Practice this shading simple geometric shapes is a beginning step. After you do that, we can go on to characters like I'm doing right now. I'll be shading all 3 of these, and I'll be going from right to the left, and at the end I'll also make these puppets kind of some original characters. So yeah, there won't be like bald guys anymore. Don't expect too much though. Practicing this won't be easy, especially if you are doing it without the third tip. We'll get to that too. And then having a little bit more practice on the fundamental shapes will help you greatly before you go to the more in-depth and more complex structures. Remember, practice makes... No, it's not right. Perfect or good? No. Good practice makes good artwork. So don't be afraid to spend time honing your value skills. Me doing here, I'm shading the character without having any light source in mind. And what I'm doing then is the places where the light can't escape, ambient occlusion. So these places will be darker. And if there is like a crack in the muscles, that will be darker than other places where the light can get easier access to and bounce off to. So the light particles will not have a hard time bouncing off of that surface, like the top of his head. And of course, it also depends of what kind of materials the light is bouncing on. So skin is more reflective than, for example, cloth, and you can see that I shade that differently. So for the shorts or whatever that part is. And
before we go to the second tip, we'll be talking about this shady webtoon of my rat's crown. It's a medieval story. First chapter is on WEBTOON. You can read it for free, and if you like it, join me on Patreon where the other chapters will be coming.
The second tip is editing grayscale images. Our second tip is fun, very fun to do, and it will enhance your shading skills greatly. So start by finding grayscale images, or just do it yourself and edit them. You can just do whatever you want with them. Well, you can make cuts. You can just make cuts or shade if the light source would be on different spots, and just have fun with it. And nothing too serious. All right, our editing grayscale images is a fantastic way to explore various shading scenarios. And improve your understanding of light and shadow. It's a valuable exercise and it can boost your confidence. Third tip is using refs. Reference is very important. Be it just using your table light, or just using your Legos, or using your smartphone to cast some light on some figurine or puppets. You have those little wood puppets for reference, or just use a 3D program. Clip Studio Paint has 3D models, so you can use them. You can also adjust the lighting, or you can use your Blender with a puppet that you also can import to it if you have if you find one on the internet. But I'm sure there are free models on the internet if you dig deep enough. And that's a very important step, because you can't just wing the shading. Well, you can do it if you're very experienced, of course, but the models will help you to understand the real world appearance of subjects, the play of light, and the subtleties of shading. So if you do that often enough, you can start doing it without. But even professionals use references, so there's nothing wrong with that. Don't hesitate to take your own reference pictures, for example, for where the folds in your clothes, or if you have some kind of outfit, it's even more complex, because the outfits, for example, if it's for a medieval story like mine, not all the clothes are kind of available. Well, they are kind of available, but not everyone has them, or not everyone want to purchase them. So it would be very good if you can kind of use 3Ds for parts that are more difficult to attain to get to. Yeah, it will improve the accuracy very of your drawings very much. I also encourage you to observe and learn from the world around you. So even when you're just going out, just look at how the light interacts with random objects, how the shadows are. These are all parts and key parts, actually, to get better at mastering values. And I would very recommend to do the value exercises and mastering of it first, and then going on to coloring, because it's, for me at least, more important. You can, even if your coloring is bad, if your values are okay, then usually it will even save the coloring process if you mess up on that part. So, in conclusion, 3 essential tips for mastering shading in your drawing: value studies, editing grayscale images, and using references as powerful technique. Well, these are all powerful techniques to level up your shading skills. Remember, practice, patience, and persistence are your best friends on this artistic journey. If you found this video helpful, don't be too shy of that like button here on the end, and please subscribe and share it with your fellow art buddies. And don't forget to leave your questions and suggestions for the next video below. Happy shading and keep making cool art.